My husband of 20 years is cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. I'm going to use pseudonyms for anyone I reference in this post. I, 41-year-old female, am a stay-at-home mom. My husband, 48-year-old male, whom we'll call Paul, works in finance. We've been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 kids, whom we'll call Eric, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the lights of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son Eric has a girlfriend, 18 female, whom he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered as family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week, I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy, our son's girlfriend, and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she misses him. I froze in place, in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it, because over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer filled with tons of BDSM explicit images. He clearly has an addiction. He also has saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed, it was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things said at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He would call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy LOLing. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month, I found a thong in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive and acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made zero sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm completely devastated. I don't even think words can adequately describe the dread, anger, shock I feel right now. I'm totally overwhelmed on how to handle this because obviously action needs to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely messed up topic with him. I wouldn't wish this predicament on my worst enemy. I can't even believe I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind is starting to race, realizing that I started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There's so many layers to all of this, and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any freaking sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact on his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders. I haven't confronted my husband about it because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to first about this. I share my story not for sympathy, but in search of understanding and perhaps advice from those who might have had to grapple with deep betrayal. Thank you for listening. Further info from OP. Do not have my initial post be long-winded because I didn't think I needed to get into the minutia of this. I didn't bother going into those details. How I inadvertently saw it was this. He was on his phone. He did not have iMessage open currently on the screen, but the application was still open. You know how on the iPhone when you swipe up and it shows all of the applications that are open and you can close them? When he was closing out the applications, something he does compulsively, I noticed it. It's not like he was some kind of idiotic buffoon having iMessage open for all to see. I saw he forgot he had the application running when he swiped up from a completely different app. Also, I did say in my post that I went back to his phone to actually solidify my suspicion on a different day. So you are incorrect in asserting that I'm now magically changing my story. I am being consistent. Relevant comments. User 1. If she's freshly 18, isn't this illegal? There's no way they weren't doing anything illegal before she turned into an adult. Also, even if so, the age gap is over 3 decades. Your husband is suspect ASF. Police immediately. OP. She's been 18 for 5 months now. I haven't been able to gauge when their affair started. I'm trying my hardest to figure that out. He deletes his text every couple of weeks, it seems like, so I haven't been able to pinpoint when this whole thing started. OP adds in the comments. Thank you everyone for overwhelming support. I'm sorry if I haven't responded to your private messages. I'll get to it when I can. dealing with a lot right now and taking a lot of steps that need to be taken. I'm trying to be smart and strategic with this truly surreal and terrible situation I'm in. I want to be clear that not telling my son about this was never something I was considering. I didn't mean to make it seem that way. I was just saying I'm intensely dreading it, but obviously it needs to be addressed. It's one part of the many steps of my overall plan. I'm currently playing dumb and collecting as much evidence as I can so I can be prepared for anything and everything. I'm going to protect myself, and I'm going to make sure I don't put myself in any potential harm's way. I'll post more through an update soon when I can, but please know, you've all touched my heart so much and made me feel less alone. Update. I'm using pseudonyms for confidentiality. I shared a situation a few days ago on another subreddit involving my 41-year-old female husband Paul, 48-year-old male, our children Eric, 18-year-old male, and Mary, 15-year-old female. I discovered that Paul was having an affair with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend, Amy. My son has been dating her since they were freshmen in high school. My brother connected me to a very tough junkyard dog type lawyer. I saved screenshots of all his conversations with Amy. I was only able to get the last 3 months from iCloud. The conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk. It was hard to stomach, completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things said about me. His call history showed he talks with her for hours pretty consistently. He uses dating apps. I took screenshots of his profiles and all of the active chats he has with his matches. It's very clear he uses a filter to seek out girls who are 18 to 22 or so. I copied all of his files from the computer. He goes in these chat rooms and forums and he spends a ton of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He had various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc. He also had different outfits, which looked kind of like a girl's Catholic school uniform and a French maid type outfit too. I picked up Eric and Mary from school, and we all drove to my brother's. They were able to sense something was awry when I picked them up. I delicately told them the entire situation, and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back 3 months ago, like on my husband's cloud, almost as if they both deleted the messages at the same time. She told me Amy sobbed when confronted. Amy basically told her mother that she will never understand and that she and him are in love. I don't want to get into too many details with what else she was saying, but suffice to say, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel she could rely on him, and he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also non-stop insistent that their friendship only became romantic/physical recently, and before that, she said he was more of a friend and mentor. I confronted Paul over Zoom. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty. He had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening. He kept yelling the word context over and over again, and that none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity. Nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said I had no right to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left the Zoom. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry. She's totally furious with her dad and Amy, justifiably so, of course. Mary's recollecting moments and times she watched her dad interact with her friends, and she's in knots about it. Eric is very clearly hurting, but he's so strong and very level-headed. He wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this at all. We made the authorities aware of everything. I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I'm reflecting on how I've been treated and how it's made me a shell of myself, and how I've had a very negative opinion of myself because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Relevant comments. User 1. How is your son holding up? What has developed between him and Amy? OP. He hasn't spoken to Amy yet since finding out the news, and I'm not sure he ever will again. Deleted. Have you confirmed if the thong you found was Amy's? The situation is messed up. OP. I confirmed that it wasn't my daughter's. She said it wasn't hers, and I know it wasn't mine. So who else's could it be? Deleted. Wait, are you saying that they messed around in the master bedroom? User 4. Don't cheaters always use their married bed? OP. Yes, I believe he did. OP adds in the comments. Both me and my son are going to get tested and checked out as well. There's no telling how many different women he's been sleeping around with. As for Amy, her mom has been in contact with me, and Amy has been threatening to run away with him because they are in love. Update number 2. Thank you again for all the love and encouragement. It gives me comfort and means so much to me. I've received many comments and messages accusing me of faking this story. which oddly also provides comfort because all of this feels unreal even to me. It validates my own feelings that there are people out there who can't even fathom this being true. I wish it were fake. I've been focusing on and worrying about how others are feeling over this, somewhat ignoring my own feelings, which I'm trying to change. I range from anger to numbness like a light switch. We're all safe and still at my brother's house. We are very careful, and his house is secured. Paul has tried to call my cell phone several times a day. I am refusing to interact with him, and I will have my lawyer handle all correspondence. He scares me, frankly. My brother has a very secure house with an alarm system and deadbolt locks. We feel safe with him. Both my son and I got checked out and tested. It appears so far that we're both clean based on the immediate rapid test, but in the coming days, we'll know for certain when the lab results come in. I'm not overly concerned. Eric is scheduled to see a therapist early next week, which is very good and needed. He's not himself right now. He seems a bit shell-shocked, and I am concerned. He internalizes a lot, and it's hard to get a read on what's going on in his head. That being said, he's thoughtful and has been talking with me, asking me how I'm doing and everything. He's not interested in corresponding with his dad at all. He calls only my cell phone, and he hasn't tried to reach out to either Eric or Mary. I get the sense that Paul is extremely nervous. He's scared, and I think deep down he knows that if investigated thoroughly, he would be in big trouble. That's what my gut is telling me. I still think about the Zoom call with him, and the more I think about it, the more it looked like he was a man whose entire world was crashing down on him. The panic in his face was very apparent. I offered Mary for me to make an appointment with the therapist as well, but she doesn't want to see one yet. She said she's open to it eventually, but wants time to herself. She's been asking her friends about her dad and if they experienced any creepiness from him. Her friends were open and honest with her, and apparently, they felt like he stared a lot and sensed his hovering presence whenever they were over. One of Mary's friends went so far as to say that she felt like he was checking her out a lot, like looking at her rear and complimenting the color of her yoga pants. At the time, no issue was brought up about it, but in light of everything that has been happening, it seems strange now. He would sit himself in different areas or vantage points to get a good view of her, she claimed. He also asked questions about what kind of friend group or which clique they were in at school. He kept asking about if they were popular girls. I'm completely embarrassed that they had this experience at our house. As for updates on Amy, which is the main reason why I wanted to write this update, I completely agree that she is also a victim. A lot of people have been emphasizing that, and I agree. I've done everything I could in my own power to indirectly get her opportunities to get help. Like I said, I told her mother, and she's been updating me on everything. Amy, unfortunately, is still living in her deluded reality, and I can only pray that she'll eventually come to her senses. She doesn't want to see any doctors or therapists at all, and has been constantly trying to reach Paul because, again, she believes that they are in love. From what I've been told, she hasn't been able to get a hold of him, and he's been avoiding communication with her completely. Amy blames me for that, and believes I took away his devices and am very controlling. Any truth that her mother tries to convey to her is met with conspiracy theories and hostility. Amy looks at me as a villain and still sees Paul through rose-colored glasses. Her mother showed her screenshots of his dating app profiles and matches, and she refuses to believe it, saying I photoshopped it. According to her mom, Amy keeps saying things like everyone is just mad because she found herself a real man, and that I'm jealous because she takes better care of him than I do. It's in line with some of the conversations I screenshot, where a lot of what Paul says in him complaining about things I don't do for him sexually. Right now, she's insistent that she and Paul will be together in the long run. He's honestly a slimeball. I can only hope that Amy comes to her senses, but me directly intervening doesn't feel like it would be productive at the moment. Maybe eventually though. Relevant comments. User 1. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. Reading all the previous posts, I honestly get the vibe that your husband wasn't a very good one to begin with. Someday, when you're ready, you're going to find someone who thinks you're glorious as you age. Your son is also going to be okay. He's gotten a lesson on exactly how men shouldn't behave. A painful one, but in time, he's going to realize that Amy was groomed and abused. It sounds like she was vulnerable, and your ex took advantage of a child who was in a bad situation. Hopefully once Amy has had some time to process just how messed up this was, she'll tell the police the whole story. I fully believe something was happening before she turned 18. OP. I believe stuff happened before she was 18 too. User 2. Do you think they kept that relationship secret for most of Eric and Amy's relationship? What a disgusting father and pig if that is the truth. OP. I'm not sure when things got actually physical or romantic, but I do think his grooming started as soon as she came into the picture when Eric started dating her freshman year. This mentor and a friend that Amy alluded to had to start right away, and the way she's acting now, being so indebted and believing every single thing he says, shows that his effect on her had to be over a long period of time. She only turned 18 like 5 months ago. Her behavior and infatuation for him seems so strong that it couldn't possibly be only 5 months of them being together. User 3. If they are consenting adults, then there is nothing to report. This is a personal problem that needs to be dealt with by attorneys and the people involved. People are way too jumpy to snap to the police to fix their problems anymore. OP is handling this the correct way. If any legal issues come into play, then her attorney will do the right thing. OP. The only thing we can really hang our hat on is the possibility of Amy having an epiphany of the reality of her situation, and she opens up candidly about when it began. But because she's 18 currently and has no interest in saying or doing anything that could potentially put Paul in legal trouble, nothing really can be done, unless they find out about other girls that I have no idea about yet. New update. Update 3. The support again has been overwhelming, and I'm very grateful. Sadly, I've received a lot of negative / accusatory / harassing private messages from people here who think I'm faking this story. Someone made a comment on some post somewhere, claiming that my story has been debunked, and people believed that person. I've seen an uptick in negative messages accusing me of making this up for money. I'm not asking for money at all. Coming here was completely rooted in emotional desperation, and I didn't expect anyone to get invested in my story this way. But again, I'm not looking for anything out of this. I have no reason to lie. I'm not gaining anything from this. If you don't believe me, that's fine. I don't care, but the only thing I ask is to not cross the line and start sending me private messages that are mean-spirited or accusatory. The only reason I'm continuing to post is because of those of you who've sent me love here, and the support really lifted my spirits. As for the divorce, it's very much underway. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it at all because it's ongoing, and I want to make sure everything is going to go smoothly. I got temporary custody of Mary. Paul also has to pay temporary child support. There's a protective order. Paul can't contact us or come near us. Right now, we're just focusing on getting through this legal mess. Again, not getting into specifics because I don't want to mess anything up, but what I'll say is I'm very confident, divorce aside, that there's overwhelming evidence against Paul that will get him in serious trouble, and it will impact him for the rest of his life. I'm sure eventually I can share more about that. I know a lot of people are concerned about his predatory ways, and I just wanted to convey this. Even though I have to be vague right now, justice will come. All of your concern about how my kids are doing psychologically means a lot to me. Eric has been to therapy twice over the last 2 weeks. I know some people thought I was dismissive of him and acting like he's doing okay. I very much know that he's hurting internally, and we're doing everything we can to make sure he knows he is supported and loved. My brother has been amazing in spending time with Eric and Mary, and both of them have confided in him about a lot. My brother has a very healthy marriage, and both he and his wife have really stepped up to the plate for all of us. Mary has not seen a therapist yet, but she promises that she will be open to seeing one soon. Her anger has mostly turned into sadness, I noticed, and I hope I can get her to see a therapist soon. Her friends have played a key role in this whole thing, and that's something that Mary has been grappling with as well. I know a lot of people are invested in the well-being of Amy as well. There were a lot of questions about whether Eric and Amy would still see each other at school. It sounded like they go to the same school, but they do not. Eric and Amy went to the same junior high school and knew each other even then, but Amy ended up going to an all-girls Catholic high school while Eric, and Mary too, stayed in the public school system. We all lived in the same town, and over the summer heading into freshman year is when they were getting to know each other and when they started dating. I wish I had a better Amy update, but it's gotten a lot worse since the last update. Paul has actually been seeing Amy despite her mother trying to force her not to see him. She tells me that Amy says she's 18 and an adult, and she can do what she wants. Her mother is in a precarious spot because if she kicks Amy out of the house for defying her, something that she has threatened to do, which I think is a mistake, she would just run to Paul permanently. The time she spends with Paul has increased over the last week, despite the fact that Paul initially ghosted her when all of this first hit the fan. There were some days where Amy would just be gone for hours on end. There's only so much I could do with the Amy situation, but again, I do believe things will turn around soon with that, given what I know about Paul and what's to come. I can only pray that Amy can get help and guidance when more stuff hits the fan. I'm doing everything I can with my own kids and my own mental health, and Amy's mom knows she has my support, and that's all I could really provide. Top comments. User 1. To be honest, the only way that Amy will see how messed up Paul is when he eventually sleeps with someone else or he accuses her of seducing him. Even if he ends up as an offender, I don't know if that's enough to convince her that he's a creep and dangerous. Now I'm curious to what Paul's intentions are. He ghosted her and now all of a sudden they're meeting up again. Worst case scenario, he's gonna have her falsely testify, which I don't think will take much convincing to Amy. Honestly, you and Amy's mom did what you could. The best thing Amy's mom could do is sit and wait, but don't kick her her out. Let her know she'll be there for Amy and she'll still have a roof over her head. And pray she snaps out of it soon instead of years later when she has burned bridges and wasted her life on a man who took advantage and ruined everyone else's life. User 2. Take care of yourself and please don't stress about these internet trolls. They are mean, heartless, soulless humans that have nothing better to do in their life than tear people down that are already hurting. Though I'm also a stranger, your story moved me, and I'm so sad that you have to go through this. Please take care of yourself too. Sounds like both kids are doing okay now, but you need to be well too. Best.
This is the police. We've got you surrounded. Come out with your hands up.
This is disturbing and very gross, and this guy should definitely be put behind bars. I know, technically legal from what they've gathered, but based on the evidence, psychologically stuff speaking for sure, something deeper was going on, and it's very messed up. It's very sad, and it's so gross. And your freaking son's girlfriend, and she's 18. Oh my gosh. And then the son and the mom technically sharing people, and oh my. So gross, so messed up. I hope he falls down, and I'm not gonna say I should be allowed to wish pain on anybody, but you know what? Maybe he doesn't have to get hurt, but severely embarrassed at the least. And God bless this woman. Hope she's doing very well and very okay, and that she is finding all the peace that she deserves in the future. Screw you, Paul! Story 2. Am I the butt face for dressing too straight and making my girlfriend uncomfortable? I, female 21, have been dating my girlfriend, female 24, for 4 months. We've known each other for about a year. She's the first girl I've ever dated or been with in that manner, and I think that this has caused a lot of issues for her. Since the beginning, she has always commented that my clothes, the way I look, and my hair make me look a lot like a straight girl. She's never said this in a rude way, just more of an observing way with some undertones to it. I've always told her that if my style or way I look bothers her, I'm more than likely not going to change it. But she says it all the time. Every time I wear something feminine, which is almost every day, every time she is close enough to touch my hair, she tells me, long blonde hair is so straight. One time, I liked a video of 2 feminine girls who were married on TikTok. The video was then showing their outfits, and my girlfriend got mad and accused me of wanting her to look like them. For context, she leans way more masculine, she has short hair, lots of tattoos and piercings, and even binds her chest sometimes. One time, and I'm going to keep this as PG-13 as possible, during relations, she asked me if I wanted to try some stuff, and I said yes. But apparently I said it too enthusiastically, and she accused me of missing it because I've dated men in the past. Finally, last night, we had a birthday dinner for a friend. I was wearing a black dress, really nothing special about it. But when my girlfriend saw me, she demanded I change. I asked why. She gave me the usual answer. I told her to leave me alone about that, and tried to walk past her to the car. Instead of letting me go, she yanked me back inside by my arms and held my face, demanding that I change. I told her no. She told me no one was gonna think we were together. Mind you, this is literally all of our friends, and they already know. I told her as long as she held my hand, I think they'd know. She eventually gave up, but we spent the whole dinner party mad at each other. When we got home, she made me prove I liked girls, which just ended up with me in tears, not because I don't like girls, but because I don't like being forced to prove it. She's still so mad at me, but I just can't fathom that I'm the butthole here. What did I do other than wear what I'm comfortable in? I don't know. I said I'm sorry, but she won't take it. Am I the butt face? Relevant comments. OP clarifies. I would call myself bi, but she hates when I do that. Dressing straight versus lesbian? There was more than that too. Yes, she had problems with my long hair and my girly clothes and my makeup, but also with the music I listen to. OMG, Taylor Swift is straight people music. And the things I enjoy. God, you actually like that show? Because it was all typically girly or feminine. This exchange. Commenter. Also, your last part about her making you prove you like girls sounds like she assaulted you. I really hope that's not the case and I just interpreted it the wrong way. I hope you're okay and you get out of this situation quickly. You'll find a partner who appreciates you for who you are, and this woman is not it. OP. I don't know what it was. Certainly not anything I want to happen again or has ever happened to me before, but I don't know, I'm just confused. But I'm okay, and it's kind of you to be concerned. Luckily, I have a really great friend who I live with, and a mom that calls me every day to get updates on my life. I'll be totally okay. Update. 10 days later. Update. Hi everyone. It's been over a week since I've posted this, and I literally cannot believe this blew up like this. Thanks so much for helping me. It's helped tremendously. For everyone concerned for me, don't worry. I'll be completely fine, and me and my now ex-girlfriend have broken up and gone no contact. I have a really good mom and best friend who have been here for me, and we've all read almost all 6,000 comments on here. Thanks so much from a stranger on the internet. Yeah, that's clearly just a hard insecurity thing, I guess, on her part. I mean, you would have to try and communicate with the ex and see if anything had really happened before. Maybe she had dated someone before and she ended up turning straight, or I don't know what the situation could have been, but there's something that was making her uncomfortable and she couldn't deal with it and was only able to express it with anger and hatred and bitterness, and clearly it kind of blew up in her face. So very grateful and very happy for OP to be having an escape plan and be feeling safe and better from now on. Story 3. Am I the butthole for not respecting my roommate's curfew? I'm in a fight with my roommate and my friend suggested I get additional opinions on here. Some background. I'm a freshman in college living in a dorm room and got a randomly assigned roommate. We live very different lifestyles. I like to stay up late and sleep in late, and she likes to go to bed early and wake up early. At the beginning of the year, she told me she likes to go to bed early and is a light sleeper, and I told her I like to stay up late, and we came to the agreement that she could turn out the light at any point and I would be quiet after that. She goes to bed 9 to 11-ish, and I often get ready for bed and lay in bed at these times out of respect. However, there are generally 2 to 3 nights a week, one of which is a weekday, that I stay up and out past this time. I keep the light off and do nothing more than crawl into bed when I return home, 12 to 3-ish. About 3 weeks ago, my roommate told me she doesn't like me staying out late because it affects her sleep and that she wants me back by 12. My friends have made fun of me because out of respect for her, I have left many parties, study sessions, and hangouts early to get home on time. On Monday night, I was out playing board games with friends and lost track of time. I noticed it was 12:30 and out of respect for her, I decided to pull an all-nighter with my friends in the common room. I returned that morning at 8:15 to get ready and shower because I had a meeting at 9. However, I got an angry text later that day calling me out for returning at 8:15, despite me doing my best to remain quiet and even not returning home at an unreasonable hour, as I would have been up at that time anyways. I responded and apologized for waking her up, but explained that I stayed out all night for her and I did nothing wrong. I also explained that while I was willing to compromise and be back most nights at midnight, as long as I was courteous, there would be nights I would come back later. I got a message last night that she had scheduled a meeting with our RA to mediate, and I honestly want to know if I'm in the wrong, or she's in the wrong, or if it's just a bad situation. Any advice would be welcome too. Thanks. Summary. My roommate wants me back in our dorm by midnight every night, and I think that as long as I am courteous and abide by that most nights, I am not in the wrong. Am I the butthole? Relevant comments. Should we be worried that you're staying out until 3 a.m. on school nights? DW, normally only one of the 2 to 3 nights a week is a school night, and I have a 3.7 GPA in a STEM major and am on track to graduate a year early. I recognize the privilege of being able to go to college and would never let my social life affect my performance in school. Did you guys fill out a sheet about roommate assignments and what you're looking for? We did fill out a roommate assignment sheet, and I put that I like to stay up late. However, they must not have prioritized it on placement. Why OP posted here? My friends in the past have expressed that they believe that she is controlling and that I should be able to stay out as late as I want. However, my friends all like to stay out late like me and wanted to get some diverse opinions because I understand where my roommate is coming from. Edit 1. Same post. First off, thank you to everyone who responded. It gave me a reality check and the confidence to stand up for myself. In general, my roommate is a very nice person, and besides a few minor other issues, we get along well, but I do recognize that her requests are unreasonable. Next week is my spring break. We have scheduled the meeting for the following week, so I will provide an update then. To those of you who suggested a room change, I would be fine if my roommate changed rooms. However, it would be difficult for me to move. I have a minor disability, which would pose challenges to moving my stuff, and my family lives in a different state, so while they would help, I don't want to ask that of them, especially since the school year is almost over. Update. Same post. 2 weeks later. Update. I met with my roommate in RA today. He told her that she couldn't set a time for me to return, but had us set specific expectations for when I return home late, like no opening and closing drawers, turning on lights, and closing the door gently, things I was already doing but will be extra mindful of in the future. I told her that I appreciated her as a roommate and felt bad about how our different lifestyles affected her and would be mindful of coming back in. But like the RA said, I would be coming back on my own timeline. Appreciate all the support. Oh, you're totally not the butthole here. I mean, come on. The person's setting down expectations and rules and guidelines like it's your mother? Come on. At first, I thought for sure that maybe there was some sort of genuine concern, or maybe the roommate had lost a close relative or sister, friend, or something, and that she just didn't like the idea of anybody being gone, because she's like, even when you stayed out late, past midnight, even though you didn't come home and wake me up, I still didn't like the idea that I didn't know you were safe in bed. But it turns out she was just an absolute clown and just wanted to control your life and where you were at certain parts of the night for some reason? No, not the butthole at all. But very nice of her to try and be mindful and take her considerations in. That's cool. Story 4. I, 25-year-old female, have face blindness. My boyfriend, 24-year-old male, likes to test me. How do I make it clear this is not okay? Hi y'all, sorry for posting this. If it's not okay, I can delete it. I've been with my boyfriend for almost a year now. I love him dearly and he loves me too, I'm guessing. But there's one thing that's causing a lot of issues for us. I suffer from prosopagnosia/face blindness, which means it's really hard for me to recognize people's faces. I usually go by other characteristics to put a name to a person, like hairstyle, facial hair, marks, skin colors, accessories, etc. But it's still really tough. It's caused me severe anxiety and other mental health struggles. I'm lucky to have wonderful people around me though, who are aware and try to help. They'll introduce themselves when we start talking, wear something they know I've linked to them, or whatever. Usually my boyfriend does this too, but sometimes he likes to test me, and it's incredibly stressful. He shaved off his beard once. A few times he wore a completely different style of clothing, or changed his hairstyle, all without warning me. In those moments, he won't tell me who he is or say someone else's name, just to see if I'll figure out it's him. He'll make jokes, saying he'll try to switch with one of his friends and see if I'll stay loyal. I usually do realize it's him, but it causes me a lot of anxiety. We've had big fights on this. He says he's allowed to change his look. I'm not a cartoon character. I just ask him to warn me. Don't get me wrong. He cares about me, but I don't think he gets how stressful it is. How do I make it clear? We have a lot of great times together. There's just this bump. Update. It's hard to imagine I made this post 19 hours ago and now I'm in the middle of breaking up with him. I'm very tired, so I'm going to keep this short. I went to talk to him, showed him this, and told him he can't do it anymore. The conversation was a lot. First, he was angry I made this post. Then he was angry I was taking it all so serious. Lots of apologies and so on. He again said he was just trying to make a tough situation more light. I said it's too much. He said I can't take a joke and I need to let him be him. That he always tells me when he's been joking, and if he was really keen on hurting me, he'd just do things and not tell me. So him telling proves he cares. That one got me very uncomfortable. At one point, he said he just wanted to test if it was real, because I could just be using it as an excuse to do anything. I left after that, because we were just going in circles. There was a lot of me making an issue of one small thing. I'm exhausted. He's still blowing up my phone with love and apologies, but you guys made me realize a lot. Thanks, really. I'm trying to stay rational about it, but it's hard, because I do care about him a lot. I'm gonna get a few hours of sleep. Thank you again. Relevant comments. User 1. He is messing with your safety. Does he not realize that? OP. I don't think he realizes how confusing it all is. There's been a moment he did the opposite, acting all weirded out when I thanked him for a nice date, saying it wasn't him, and thought I knew it was. I still started to doubt myself. He did say it was a joke soon after, but it caused such a panic. He hasn't done it again, but it took me a long time to feel comfortable again. User 2. Making someone feel unsafe is not a joke. Gaslighting someone you care about is not a joke. User 3. Holy smikes, that's terrifying. Not to recognize a familiar face with a major change like that is like nightmare fuel. That your boyfriend does it to you multiple times on purpose is scary. I don't know if there's a way you can explain it to him if he doesn't get it. It seems like he enjoys your panic, which is not a good thing in a partner. If this was my partner, I would get a tattoo or something, and I don't have any. OP. My dad actually got a tattoo on his arm for me, which is a great comfort. I hadn't realized how messed up everything is until reading all these replies. User 4. Your boyfriend is basically abusing you in emotional situations. He thinks it's hilarious you struggle and get severe anxiety, which isn't normal, nor does it mean he cares about you. This is a huge red flag. OP. Abuse is a really big word, but I do agree it's not okay. I'm seeing him soon, we'll see how it goes. Update. Hi y'all, hope it's okay I post a little update. Things went crazy. A lot has happened in the last days. I'm really grateful to you all. Honestly, I wasn't aware about the real meaning of his pranks and what it said about him and our relationship. I went to talk to him the same evening I made that post, with the intention of making clear he can't pull all that anymore. The conversation escalated. We talked for hours into the night and every day since. There's been a lot of messages. He got angry about the Reddit post I made. I showed him. Angry at you guys. Angry that I couldn't take a joke and listen to strangers. Said things like he in the beginning didn't actually believe I suffered from it and would use it as an excuse to cheat on him. That now he does believe, but due to a bad breakups in the past, he has a hard time trusting I won't use it as an excuse regardless. Said he was joking about it because he wanted to make a tough situation lighter, and that's just his sense of humor. That if I loved him, I'd accept that. When I made it clear I was done, it got even worse. He began apologizing a lot. Said he didn't realize it was such a big thing for me. Again, didn't make any sense with all said before. In the same breath, he said that he at least told me. To the people who thought he actually had planned to trick me by using one of his friends, I think y'all may be very right. To be honest, I was done. I do care about him a lot. Can't just shut that off, but it's never going to work. There's been many messages, calls, etc. He dropped some vague hints that sometimes he pulled pranks I wasn't aware of. I don't know if that is true or he's just in a bad place right now. He also came to my place to apologize again, but I suspect he didn't expect I'd immediately recognize him as he didn't apologize till I said his name. He's not evil, but just very messed up right now. I blocked him everywhere, told him not to show up anymore, and that a friend would give him his stuff. I'm going to delete this account soon, but I wanted to thank you guys for helping me realize it. I genuinely don't think I would have. I'm heartbroken, but a bit relieved as well. Thanks for all the support and kindness. Relevant comments. User 1. I'm glad you broke up. Someone who loves you shouldn't ever do that to you. Just curious about your condition. Do you also have issues with recognizing voices as well as faces? I can only imagine how hard it must be to deal with. OP. Actually, voices are one of the traits I go by to recognize someone. Voices, posture, tattoos, hairstyles, and so on. Thank you loads. Yeah, it sounds again like insecurity from this guy. Like maybe he had some sort of unloyalness happen to him in the past and that he was afraid of it happening again, especially with someone that could have a, in quotes, excuse locked and loaded, and that he just wasn't able to deal with it. So he kept trying again and again to kind of force it, to make sure it was concrete, and then he knew without a shadow of a doubt that she would stay faithful to him, but yet instead kind of, built his own demise. He tried so hard because he was so insecure to make a concrete relationship that he broke it in the end. So very sad for him, but very immature. And if he really did love and care about her as much as he said, he wouldn't keep doing something that she was fighting with him about, that was giving her panic and stress and scared her. And man, you just gotta freaking trust people. If they say they're scared or if they're bothered, they usually are. It does suck when things don't work out. That does make me sad because I like to hear in the end that there's a happy ending, but clearly they don't all end up that way. I will say though that sometimes I feel like I have this. You ever shake somebody's hand and immediately forget who it was or what their name was? I don't know if I face blindness, but just very short-term memory, or I don't pay attention at all. One of the two for sure. Story 5. My 20-year-old male best friend, lesbian 20-year-old female, said she has feelings for me. Now we are both confused. Just to give some context, I have known this girl, let's call her Kay, since we were 14. I met Kay when we paired up in a group project for this one class. I found out we had a lot in common and we became friends. Over time, I developed a huge crush on her. Sophomore year, I asked her to homecoming and she said yes. It was a good time, but after, it didn't really lead to anything. I got the sense that she didn't like me the way I liked her. Junior year, Kay came out as lesbian. Honestly, I wasn't super surprised, but I was a little heartbroken. I decided to put all my feelings away and just be supportive. I was really enjoying my senior year. I started dating this girl the summer before school started, thanks to Kay setting us up. Things were going really well until COVID hit. My girlfriend broke up with me because she couldn't handle a relationship at the time. I was sad about that, but more upset that I was going to miss things like prom and senior trip. Kay knew I was upset and invited me over for a fake prom, which consisted of us getting dressed up for photos and immediately going inside to play old Wii games and watch movies. She even bought some of my favorite snacks. Still probably the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me. First year of college sucked. Nothing noteworthy happened other than Kay and I going to the same school. Kay started to date this girl who I'm 99% sure hated me for no reason. They break up in the summer. And now we can move on to the important part of my story. Kay and I decided to get a place near campus together for this school year. Her mom thought it was weird, but her dad, coolest guy ever by the way, thought it was a good idea. We've had lots of good times so far. My favorite thing about living together has been our late night talks. We talk about anything from school, sports, hot girls, bad hookups, etc. Last night, during one of our talks, Kate randomly brings up that she might be bisexual. Not gonna lie, I felt a little jealous thinking that she hooked up with a random guy, but she tells me that she has feelings for me. I kind of laughed it off at first until she started crying. She said she started having feelings for me a month ago, and I was super confused about her sexuality. I apologized for laughing and said we'd talk tomorrow. I didn't want to make any bad decisions that could ruin our friendship. So right now she's at class and I'm just alone thinking, this is literally a dream come true. So why am I hesitating at all? I guess I don't want her to just immediately change her mind after and make things weird between us. I'm anxiously waiting for her to get back. I really do love her though. I never thought I'd have a chance at this kind of love. Any advice on what I should say to her when she gets back? I feel like I'm overthinking this. Too long didn't read. Best friends for 6 years. She's lesbian. Moved in together for school. She might be bisexual and has feelings for me. Need advice on what to do next. Relevant comments. User 1. Just gotta be honest with her. Tell her how you've always felt and ask her what she wants to do. Admit you're scared of things not working out. Try to decide if you want to try it anyway. From the tone of your post, it seems like you might regret it forever if you don't try with her. OP. You're definitely right about that last point. I'll always wonder what might have been if I don't try. Update 1. First of all, thanks to the people who commented on my original post. So Kay got here later than usual so she could finish an assignment and have the whole night to talk. When she walked in, we both smiled at each other and didn't say anything. I thought the mood was going to be lighthearted, but as soon as we started talking, we both got really emotional. I took the advice to just be completely honest about how I felt. I told her how I had a huge crush on her when we first met. She knew. I also told her how grateful I was just to have her in my life, and whatever happens, I don't want to ruin that. Kay agreed and gave her side of the story. The long comment on my original post pretty much nailed what she was feeling. She felt like she was stuck with the label she put on herself when she was younger. After her last breakup, she started to question herself and her feelings towards me. She eventually sorted out her feelings last month but was afraid to tell me. We laid out some of the possible risks of being together, but realized we were probably being too hard on ourselves. So we're gonna give this relationship a try. We're gonna take it slow and communicate a lot about how we're feeling. We ended the night with a long hug and some more tears. Yesterday morning, we talked some more about things like spring break plans and when we would tell parents and friends. Parents will come when the time is right, but our friends will probably just figure it out themselves. Honestly, there was a super awkward vibe between us in the morning. I think both of us were scared of trying to make a move or trying something different. We both thought of some fun date ideas for this week to break the awkwardness. We cuddled for a while, which wasn't really something new, but it feels a lot better now. Overall, I'm just hoping I don't mess this up. We have a week off from work and school starting today, so it should be a good time. Thanks again to the people who commented on my first post. I think I needed to see someone say, go for it. Update 2. Hey, I thought I'd give a quick update to the people who followed/asked to keep them updated. Probably my last post for a long time. Don't really want to keep posting my personal life on here. So Kay and I already had plans to visit our families for spring break before we entered our relationship, which sucked because we didn't want to be apart. We live like 10 minutes from each other, so yesterday we just drove back in one car. Wow, way to make it obvious. I said screw it and convinced my parents to let Kay and her parents come over for dinner. Dinner was good, and we all played a few games afterwards. We had to hold in our laughter when her dad made a comment about how nice it is that Kay and I have been friends for so long. I guess it's possible that he knows because that's definitely his style of humor. Now the biggest part of the update, we had our first kiss. Kay wanted to go on a late night drive just like we used to. I was dropping her off and she just leaned in and kissed me. It wasn't super long, but it was really nice. We have some plans for this week, but we're also broke AF. So, like I said, I'm probably done posting these for now. I feel like a first kiss is a good note to end on. Thanks for all the nice comments. If I do post again, hopefully it's a positive update. Update 3. Hey, I saw a few notifications about new followers on this profile and apparently my post was shared somewhere, so that's cool. Figured I could give a quick update about Kay and I. These last 2 months flew by. Relationship is going great. Not much has changed in our dynamic except we kiss and have relations now. We just moved out of our apartment because the semester is over. Gonna miss that place. We were planning on telling people about us once the semester was over, but someone got drunk and posted a picture of us kissing on their Instagram story. Of course, Kay's parents saw it and told my parents because they are all friends. They were happy for us, so that's good. So yeah, that's about it. It's funny looking back at how nervous I was. New update. Good news is, Kay and I are still together a little over a year later. It still feels surreal that we're actually together. so I just wanted to share a couple stories from the past year and clarify some things I've seen in the comments. So overall, things are going great. Last summer was basically our time to get used to being a couple. The transition from friends to dating was easy. It was only a little awkward the first time we were together around our families. Like most of you guys said, Kay's dad had a good feeling this would happen. He actually made a bet with Kay's brother 2 years ago that we would eventually date. We moved back in together when the school year started. We also both turned 21 this year. Kay's 21st birthday party delivered an all-time great moment, but don't ask about it. When my posts were put on Best Of, Kay and I spent one night going through all of the comments. We're happy that so many of you loved our story. And yes, I know why Kay's ex hated me. I just meant that I didn't do anything to her or try to take away from their relationship. So thanks for the support. Here's to 1 year and hopefully many more. Oh, who doesn't love a happy ending? Just goes to show sometimes the friend zone does work out in the end. Although it sounds like it took a good, 10 years or so. But you know what? They made it work, and how great is that of a story? Hello? Oh, Hallmark? You're calling? That's right. I don't know what else to say. There weren't really any twists or turns. It was kind of all in the headline, and it was exactly that. Pretty straightforward. So happy and grateful for them, and everything ended up okay. That's what we like! We love a happy ending to a story. Is anybody the butthole here? No, they're all wonderful. Story 6. Found out I'm a product of an affair. Dad didn't know and accidentally blew apart my family. Here are my results. Out of curiosity, I took a DNA test in November 2019. It showed up that I had a half-sister and nieces. I was able to reach out to this half-sister in the same day and found my biological father as well. I was shocked, but not as surprised as I thought. I've always had questions because I don't share any traits of my dad. I look nothing like him. However, he is the man on my birth certificate. He had no idea I was not his biological daughter. I confronted my mother about my findings and she lashed out at me, calling me a liar. My biological father knew this whole time but didn't find it appropriate to approach me about it because it wasn't a 100% positive thing. Up until a couple weeks ago, my dad and mother have not spoke to me. I showed up out of the blue because I wanted to resolve the situation with them. My mom has always had a bad relationship with me. She still refuses to speak to me, but my dad refuses to give up on me. I have 28 years into my daughter and I will not give that up. I am fortunate that he has accepted this. My mother, on the other hand, I have 3 half-sisters between my mother and 2 other women. I have started a relationship with my half-sister who I initially contacted. She is kind. My youngest sister is in the midst of an identity crisis, believing she is 100% Mexican, and just a couple days ago deciding she is now of Cherokee descent. It's kind of weird how all of our mothers look very similar. BioDad clearly had a type. Relevant comments. User 1. I think that, unfortunately, this is an all too common occurrence / side effect from these DNA tests. It can either rip a family apart or allow people to bring truth to light and begin healing decades-old wounds that can sometimes answer many questions and uncertainties held by the test taker. I'm really glad you got your truth. If nothing else, it allows you to see everyone for their true selves. Your dad, for instance, is clearly a good and loving person who cares about you deeply, and that's what truly matters. Your mother has also shown her true colors. Maybe not as flattering for her, but you have to take it for what it is. Maybe better to know than not to know. User 2. Man, as a male human being, this would hurt me a lot. Almost makes me wonder if I should make it a policy to test any kids who are supposed to be mine. But I don't think most women would take that understandingly. It's nice that your father came to know of this later than earlier. You would have wished to find this earlier maybe, but for your dad, I think it's better. Being a young man, emotionally attached to your kids, then you find out that all those happy memories and news about you making her pregnant were just lies, and you've been living with a liar and you actually have no biological kids, speaking generally. It would tear me apart emotionally. OP. I find that I'm on the other side of this as well. I would be totally understanding if my SO requested a paternity test. I would never mess around, but I would never want that doubt either. I can't imagine the pain that this has caused my dad. I hope that me affirming him as my father helps, and that he knows I appreciate everything he's done with me and for me. He spent a lot of time with me as a kid and helped craft me into who I am today. User 3. This is a crazy story, but I'm glad that you know. I suppose it's better to know than to not know. In my case, my parents were/are my parents. Mom passed in 2007, and Dad's not really been in my life much. He's a turd. My grandparents told me like 2 weeks ago that I have a brother and sister that my dad wanted nothing to do with and disowned, and I don't know anything about them. Family won't tell me anything and doesn't know, and it's really frustrating. Also found out a secret aunt that my dad and my aunt and my uncle didn't know about. So I guess you find all kinds of crazy stuff via DNA testing. OP. I feel better knowing. It was one of those things I've had over my head since I was a kid. My dad's mother hated my mom. Because she knew I wasn't my dad's child, she wasn't a moron. I wasn't a real part of the family, and she didn't treat me like my cousins. I picked up on that as a little girl. My mom's sister also knew I wasn't my dad's child, but didn't know who my dad would actually be. My mom also had a pretty crappy reputation. Everyone seemed to know something about the situation, except me. Funny, I would have to use all of that later in life to help me piece together what actually happened. Crazy stuff is an understatement. User 4. What's the reason for your sister to believe she's 100% Mexican? Sorry to know about your relationship with your mother, but good to see you have a fairly good relationship with your two dads, from what we interpret from this. Good luck with your family. OP. There is a lot to unpack there. She might be delusional or in the midst of an identity crisis, or both. My older half-sister was not surprised to find out about me. She was very open-minded. I could have been met with the very opposite reaction. The youngest one, on the other hand, was incredibly upset when she found out about me. I'm not really sure why. Her mother and bio dad were never married. Upon getting to know her, she is infatuated with her social media presence. I can't come up with any other reason than delusion, or that she gets more Instagram likes because she is claiming to be Mexican and Native American. I wanted to understand, so I asked my bio dad if her mother was perhaps either of those. Bio dad told me he wishes she'd stop this crap, and then he had her mother text me, and she sent me an older picture of herself and my youngest sister, with very pale skin, leading to me believing she uses tons of self-tanner. Youngest sister's mother is of Irish descent, fair-skinned. She was open to meeting me as well. Younger sister claims to get her heritage from bio dad, but we can see that that isn't the case. It just bothers me that she is clearly using this to benefit in some way. When I first met her, she claimed to be a pretty big deal somehow. I think that perhaps the identity crisis worsened when she found out about me because she doesn't feel special or something along those lines. Regardless, I don't really want to know her based on our interactions. It's fascinating how the nature versus nurture comes into play. I am a bit mechanically inclined like my bio dad, and I've had an interest in cars, mechanics, and taking things apart. I work in computer science. I race cars. Bio dad showed interest in bonding with me based on my interests. I think she was only pretending to be interested because it could get her attention, and sees that I'm legitimately into this without effort. Suddenly, I'm the competition? I wish I could explain it. I was so excited when she told me she was into cars. I could have never imagined having sisters, let alone being able to possibly bond with one who was into the same things I am into. Maybe I'm a little out of touch when it comes to female relationships and the dynamic they bring. User 5. Based on your post, it seems that you have always had a difficult relationship with your mother. That said, I find it rather strange that your mother is the one who is most upset about this, and as a result is angry with you. If anything, shouldn't it be the other way around? I understand that these sorts of situations aren't rational, but I really don't understand how she can be mad at you. What do you do wrong? OP. Right? That's what everyone around me is saying. I believe I have dealt with this situation very well considering. I have started going to counseling to get a professional opinion, as I believe most people around me have a bias and share the thought that my mom is honestly a terrible person. I didn't ask for the situation, and it's completely unreasonable for her to be upset with me. She is only upset because I have undone a 28-year web of lies. Apparently, she had lied that I was born 2 months premature to get it to line up with my dad leaving for deployment. Too bad she was screwing around on him, and he is such a nice, trusting man. He had absolutely no idea. I think his initial anger at me was due to her manipulating him. It's a lot to sort through, that is for certain. User 5. Well, I hope it works out for you. This is a difficult situation for you. Learning that your dad isn't your bio dad, meeting your bio dad and new siblings, etc. It's a lot to process and cope with, and none of any of these things is your fault. It's really unfortunate that your mom feels this way and is venting her anger at what exactly? On you. Hopefully the situation will improve over time. OP. Thanks for reading my post. I believe I have already coped with the possibility of not having my mother around, as I have essentially grieved the loss of not having her around my entire life. My dad is my rock, so the possibility of losing him was absolutely devastating, which was initially what led me to seek counseling. After scheduling that appointment, I was able to have that conversation where he said he wouldn't give up on me, and we have had several conversations since. I decided to keep my appointments to process the situation anyways, although I see it as moving in a positive direction. I hope anyone else in a similar situation is able to take something positive from me sharing this. User 6. You can't control how she feels, so you have to probably figure out how to just deal with whatever she is going through. It is unfortunate she is taking it out on you when the situation you are all in is clearly because of her. With that being said, the only reason I can think of that she would be mad at you, and I do not believe she should be, and that is she is in the wrong, is because you didn't go to her first where she could try to talk you into keeping her secret. That would have been a terrible position for you to be in, and very selfish of her if that were to happen. This may not be the case, but it is hard for me to see another reason she would hold such a grudge. OP. When I initially went to her about it, I had already talked to my bio dad and sister, and she was very upset that she would have to tell my dad. I gave her the option to be honest, and she kept up with the lie until I let her know what I found. She did insist on keeping it a secret, told me to force half-sisters never to say anything to anyone ever. It can just be your girl's little secret, which seems bizarre and also very unreasonable. I'm not going to try to force other people that I just found out about to do something out of her sake. She needs to own up to her mistake. My mother even went as far as saying she wished she terminated her pregnancy. I am her only child too. I was raised with 2 half-brothers from my dad's 2 previous marriages. The oldest is in full support of me regardless of what happens in this situation, which is nice. OP when asked about her mom. I believe she is very mentally ill. She is an alcoholic and exhibiting narcissistic personality traits. I don't know how my dad deals with her, honestly. My dad is 70 years old. She has had a very cushiony life so far and hasn't worked in a very long time. My mom will be 54 years old and has done absolutely nothing in her life except be miserable. I think she desperately needs help, but I don't think she will ever reach out. My aunt, who I also found out isn't my full aunt but a half, believes that my mom had every intention of abandoning me or leaving me with my grandma. My aunt feels bad that she didn't step in regarding my upbringing, but I assured her that it does no good feeling bad about it now. It is fascinating though the patterns I have found here. My grandma, my aunt and mom's mothers. Mom was about 20 years younger than her husband. My grandma messed around with another guy and married up my grandpa, who provided her with a very cushiony life too. I'm just fortunate to have come out of this whole situation as self-aware and patient as I am. I am terrified of alcohol though. In my 28 years, I haven't even tried it. I can't bring myself to do it based on what I was subject to growing up. I could confidently say that I am a break in the cycle of abuse though. My mother might have resented me my whole life due to knowing that I wasn't my dad's daughter too. There are a lot of moving pieces to the situation. Update 1 year later. A little backstory if you don't feel like looking in my previous post history. I found out about my birth giver's lies in 2019. I have finally been no contact with my narcissistic mother after finding the truth by doing a 23andMe DNA test. I found my biological father, which happened the day I got my results in 2019 because he was a family friend. I've got to know him along with one of my 3 sisters. The youngest sister hates me for some reason, and I believe this revelation prompted her to take a DNA test to see if I was making things up. Turns out we share 31.2% of our DNA. My dad, the man on my birth certificate, decided he would throw me away. I bought him a new phone so he could keep in touch with me, but then he went back on his word. I gave him one last chance by inviting only him to my wedding, but he refused and threatened me with a no contact order. On the happy side of things, my brother, oldest of dad's biological sons, he has 2, came to my wedding and was so happy that I invited him. I hope this is finally the end to this ordeal because it was a lot to process over the past couple years. I hope anyone reading this with a situation similar to mine, just remember there are people out there who love you. You may not choose your blood family, but you are able to choose who you consider family. Relevant comments. User 1. Holy cow. It sounds like you still have some support, old and new siblings, but I'm so sorry how this has gone for you. Do you mind my asking, you noted you invited only your dad to your wedding? Is he still with your mother? OP. Yes, my dad is still with her, but I believe she is parasitically manipulating him. She believes that I must apologize for uncovering this lie. I refuse. He has somehow sided with her that I owe her an apology. It is a stalemate. I miss my dad so much, but I'm glad my mother is 100% out of my life. User 1. I just can't wrap my head around how he's still married to the person who lied and presumably cheated to him but blames you? I'm sure you miss him, but how do you throw a whole kid out but stay with the wife? OP. I can't either, but I'd rather not spend the time trying to figure out why it is the way it is. I think my mom has spun the story in such a way that he believes I am wrong, or that I am a liar when in fact he is living with the liar. I've done nothing besides take a DNA test to see if I would uncover if I was more susceptible to certain things like celiacs, etc., and I am. More on her parents. I've never had a good relationship with my mother. I think I've spent the majority of my life mourning for a relationship with a mother figure. Mine always chose the bottle over her only daughter, me. My dad always boasted being a man of integrity and essentially having a spine. But when this all unfolded, it made me realize what little integrity he has. He couldn't stand up for what is right in this situation. I see him as a small, spineless, and weak man because of it. Someone I look up to fell apart in front of me. My birth giver has caused many issues for our family. She has managed to put a lot of distance between him and my two older brothers. They went years of not talking because of something BG took out of context, and due to his severe anger problems, would take that out on my brothers, their wives, their poor kids. It's just a cycle, and he acknowledges it. However, he lacks the will to do anything about it. I know she spends all his money on frivolous, pointless objects to fill some void in herself. Do you know the show called Hoarders? The house looks like that, except it's a lot of new objects, never unboxed. God forbid you use something like a blender. No, it's new. But yes, BG, it's 7 years old. When you gonna use it? Then there are more blankets, towels, and food rations, and the basement is reminiscent of a Red Cross disaster shelter. She's a disaster prepper and doesn't even realize it. Regardless, she keeps buying more and more, and the house has definitely become a fire hazard, and Dad is totally complacent in the matter. More on her mom. Another thing to point out, I believe she has a tremendous amount of credit card debt that my dad is unaware of. A cousin of mine found my grandfather's checkbook and noticed that there was a check made out to her for $25,000. Cousin also noted to me while assisting our great aunt after back surgery that there was a check to her for $10,000. It makes sense. She doesn't work and she's spending copious amounts of money on dumb crap that has no purpose. Fake rings, hundreds of jeans, shirts, poor quality Chinese goods from Wish, etc. I used to get daily digest of my old address, and each day there would be 3 to 4 parcels arriving. She's very good at hiding these things. Dad is just completely unaware because he never sees credit card statements as he is busy building a cabin so she can wipe up her tracks and make minimum payments on these things without him catching on. OP last commented on this post and subject 16 months after last update. OP on how things are now and her parents' history. They married a year after I was born. Luckily, things are still quiet. My not dad has chosen to die on this hill. Haven't heard a single peep from birth unit since I went no contact, with the exception of the text in response to my no contact letter, where I said I refused to have someone like her in my life and that I might consider it if she went and got professional help, to which she texted me, "K, bye." And that was the last I heard in August 2020. He still feels that I need to apologize to her for what I've done, which still floors me and everyone around me. My brother, not Dad's actual son, who I grew up knowing as my oldest brother, says he believes I have done nothing wrong but thinks this is a self-preservation move on not Dad's part. Not Dad has to live with the woman who gave birth to me, and she is an incredibly miserable human being. However, I don't feel a bit sorry for him because he has put himself in this situation. I still feel very confident that I have done nothing wrong. I believe I am justified in standing my ground by refusing to apologize and not allowing any of them the satisfaction of successfully manipulating the situation. They are not worth my time, energy, or the real estate in my mind. It's been wonderful without them. Who knew that removing toxic family would be so beneficial? I think it's awful that people tend to feel obligated to keep their family around because we were inundated with messages from other people telling us things like, "It's your family though, and you only get one," which prolongs the cycle. People who hang on this notion that it's necessary to keep your family in your life regardless of what they do to a person may never be able to break the cycle. I feel fortunate to have been able to remove myself from all of this and make it out without significant issue. I am grateful for all of my friends, or my chosen family rather, for being there while this situation concluded. OP has made an update comment. New update. I'm not sure why this post is getting traction again, but soon after this post, my dad was probably given an ultimatum by my mother, her or me. which prompted my dad to respond to me in an uncharacteristic way, which prompted all communication to end around August 2020. I got married in 2021, and he didn't attend. Normally, I would have had my dad part of my wedding day, but due to the circumstance, I had a very tiny informal ceremony. My grandfather, mom's dad, was able to attend my wedding, along with my aunt, my mom's sister, who actually is a half-sister and absolutely despises my mom. My 2 cousins and my dad's oldest son and family attended. My older brother still considers me his sister, so I was happy he made the trip. My husband's parents pretty much took care of everything for us. I did extend my dad an invitation a few days prior to my wedding, but I don't remember if he even responded to my message. In the other hand, my biological father, who I owe absolutely nothing to, was bent out of shape that him and his girlfriend of the moment, whom I didn't even know, didn't receive an invitation to my wedding. The older sister of mine, who I had reached out to initially, was understanding and felt that I had no obligation to invite her or her husband to my wedding. I stopped contact entirely with my biological father in December 22. He brings nothing positive to my life and really just enjoys creating his own problems. I don't have room for this. Unfortunately, my oldest sister died in June 2023. She was murdered by her husband, and I don't know how I feel about never getting to know her. This did set into motion reconnecting with my youngest sister. The separation between her and I was caused by biological father putting his head into things that didn't concern him. I have contact with my 2 remaining sisters, though not often. I see my older sister maybe twice a year, but definitely closer to her at this point. My grandpa, last grandparent of mine, passed away in October 2023. This prompted the whole family to attend a celebration of life for him where my mom decided to act like absolutely nothing was wrong. Totally nuts, and my biological dad showed up at the place. It's just so crazy. My dad, just prior to the celebration of life, finally set the tone with my mom and promised me she'd come around. I met my dad for lunch in February, and he got to talk to me about all the projects he's been building. Progress is progress, even if it's a little step forward. It was nice, but I have no expectations. Every time I dropped in to say hi when I knew she wasn't around, he was happy to see me and acted like his normal self. He was proud of me for graduating college again, and that he missed me, but my mom is truly a master of manipulation. I really think my dad is just trying to appease her because she can truly make his life misery, which I can understand the reaction because he has to live with her. It's just been a whirlwind, and there are a lot more pieces to it that I am putting in this comment. I am just really grateful for my husband and his wonderful, stable family. They are all very kind, and I am very fortunate to have them. Along with my friends, they've all really helped me through this process. Holy crap! There is a ton to unpack there, my goodness. So to find out that, one, you've been lied to your whole life, and instead of being angry and being upset with them for their lies, you're just, genuinely seeking answers, they instead get mad at you and disown you. Then, with a slight redeeming factor, you have 2 dads that say, hey, we accept you, you like cars, I like cars, we both like cars, let's like cars together. And then eventually he just gets very upset and, I don't know, just doesn't like you anymore because you wasn't invited to the wedding because you didn't even know him. And then the other dad is like, hey, I've put 28 years into this daughter. I'm not going to give up on you now, sweetheart. Okay, don't ever forget that. And then she's like, well, thanks, Dad. I'm really appreciative that, we might not be blood, but we love each other. Oh, okay, never mind. You don't love me anymore? What's happening? And then he just dips, and now nobody loves her. Except for in the end, she's able to find love in her own field of friends and a husband and a new family. So happy ending, but gosh dang it, you never know what kind of weird bag you're going to walk into when you're born, really. I mean, you just kind of get put in a bad situation, and sometimes they lie about how bad the situation is, and then they keep lying, and if you ever crack the code and figure it out, they'll get mad at you that they created a bad situation. So, you know what? Love your family and appreciate the ones who don't disown and make you feel like the problem.